I'm Karen Hoyt, Marketing Director at Shasta Regional Medical Center, and we're proud to be part of the conversation that the Forum at KIXE is bringing to our community. Shasta Regional has been around for more than 60 years supporting our community, and we would like to invite you to be a part of the Forum on KIXE. Together, we can support the community that gives us back so much. Thank you.
Hi, and welcome to the Forum. I'm your host, Ashley Tate, here with my co-host, Christy Largent, and we're here with Bill Cornelius and Bob Douglas. I wanted to make sure I did not get those names incorrect. And we're here with the Historic State Theater, and you are the president.
That's correct.
Of that organization, and we're here with the vice president as well. So it is so nice to have you guys on. I'm sorry that was a big mouthful to try to get out all of that information. I hope you guys got all that. But
Bill and Bob are going to talk to us all about the Historic State Theater in Red Bluff, California. So,
right.
I mean, you can barely say the word Historic State Theater without thinking about the most famous Red Bluff thespian to come out of the community, and that would be Tom Hanks.
Yes, that's true.
So, I mean, seriously, that's the first thing a lot of people think about. So tell us, what's the relationship that Tom Hanks has with what you guys have going on there?
Well, we'll be talking about the history of the State Theater fundraising effort we have, but about 3 years ago when we got involved in this process, we found out that Tom Hanks actually spent his summers in Red Bluff. His mother has lived there for decades, still lives there, a lovely lady. And when we started fundraising, we contacted Tom. He donated many of his movie memorabilia, autographs for auctions that we've done. And more importantly than that, he took the time to do, well, we had Merle Haggard down at the State Theater, one of the first events we had. And that had an auction with it. And Tom did a testimonial video for us that we play at all of our events. And he talks about growing up, and the first movie he saw was Tigger in the at the State Theater. And when we show that to audiences, suddenly we're pretty important people.
That's right, you are.
Well, at least I'm a pretty important person, but I don't know about Bob. But and Tom Hanks has written a check or two. Very nice.
Very generous.
A very generous man. And when when I get a letter from him, I frame it.
That's right. It's a great endorsement.
He'll ask about. He'll say, "Is the old Cream King restaurant still there?" Well, no, it's a Thai restaurant now, or a Thai restaurant. So, but what you see with Tom Hanks is who he is. He's just he types all of his own letters, and because he collects typewriters, and on one of my letters he misspelled a word, just like in the 7th grade when you did. He X'd it out, and then he spelled the word correctly. So he's a really cool guy.
Oh,
that's just awesome to have such a nice connection with him.
And his mother rarely misses a performance at the State Theater.
Even now?
Even now.
Oh, that's
We had, very quickly, because we're here to talk about the theater too,
but
we had a premiere where his mother couldn't fly to LA, and we had one of his movies premiere in Red Bluff. And he sent a limo for his mother, and we had 300 people come to the theater, and we had wine and cheese, and he bought out the local. We couldn't show it at our theater because of Paramount Pictures or something, but he bought out the entire theater downtown, and we all went down there and had a wonderful time.
That is amazing. Wow. So, I mean, he really appreciates his roots here.
Very much
that makes you should make us all feel pretty proud in the North State.
Yes. So speaking of roots, what are the roots with the Historic State Theater?
Well, we call it the Historic State Theater because it goes back to 1908.
Wow.
And in 1908, a group of businessmen in Red Bluff thought the town needed an opera house. And so they put an opera house on that site, and it operated as the Performing Arts Center for Red Bluff until about 1928.
Oh, wow.
And by that time, it was somewhat in disrepair, and a group called T&D Enterprises bought the theater and renovated it. And the headlines in 1928 said, "It's a riot of colors and modernness." And so we don't have very many pictures of it then. And it functioned then until about 1944 or so, 45, and then there was a fire. Oh. And the theater was closed, and that was during World War II. You couldn't get building materials to do anything, but the people of Red Bluff applied to the U.S. government for special dispensation to allow them to rebuild the theater, and it was one of a handful of theaters that were allowed to be rebuilt during the war era.
Wow.
So it reopened in 1946, and it was rebuilt. They hired a very renowned theater architect and who rebuilt it in an Art Deco modern style, and it is truly a work of art.
Wow.
And when we talk about it as a historic building, they don't build buildings like that, much like here in Reading, the Cascade Theater, the same thing. You want to restore buildings like that and keep them for posterity. And we're really pleased to be able to do that. And Bill can tell you a little bit as our president about how we were able to do that preservation and be able to keep the theater for the community.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Red Bluff, and so my history starts in when this one was built in 1946, and unfortunately I was alive then.
Oh my
so
goodness.
That's how old I am. But at any rate, I started going to that theater when it was relatively new, like in early 50s.
Yeah.
And so that was a double feature, 3 cartoons, all that kind of day. And I can't tell you how many first dates I had at that theater. Never
I'm not sure we want to know.
Never had a second
You never
date.
had a
No, they were hard to find. But at any rate, in about the 70s, when multiplex theaters started coming in, they butchered that theater, to be honest. They tried to make a triplex out of it, and they put walls in it and all of that sort of stuff, and it didn't work.
Right.
And in about 1990, it sat vacant, and some local business men, 2 men down there, one Dr. Clark and Ben Sale, purchased the theater.
And this is in 1990?
And that was, about late 90s.
Okay.
And they rented the building to our predecessors, I guess you could say, State Theater for the Arts, for about 10 years. And those folks who were on the board at that time did a wonderful job keeping that theater going.
Yeah.
But it got to the point where everybody realized that restoration and taking the next step was impossible if you didn't own the building. So we put together a steering committee in actually 2010, and Bob and I were heavily involved in that. And we did, for a full year, we studied, we did due diligence stuff. We brought in people to look at the structure. We had an engineer on our group. We had the North State Symphony, Kyle Pickett was actually attending, and he will tell you that theater has the best acoustics anywhere that he's played. So
I have to get down there.
yeah, it's really, really sound. At any rate, we made a difficult decision in 2011 to offer to buy the theater. We had an appraisal, and without going into specific numbers, it was just under $500,000 that we were going to pay for that theater. And I know I speak for Bob and the rest of the board. That little community down there is absolutely amazing, because we are having a mortgage burning celebration in about 2 weeks by invitation only. That community has contributed $500,000. Wow. And that theater is hitting on all cylinders. 2 years ago, we applied for a grant through the McConnell Fund of the Shasta Regional Community Foundation for a sound system, and we received fully funded for that. So we've got a state-of-the-art sound system down there. We're now applying for another grant for the State Theater Blade, the Dion. It's in badly need of repair, and we're hoping to have the results of that application here within the next couple of weeks.
Just to interrupt you for just a second, because I mean, the big thing about that is you were talking about how the community is so great and they helped you guys, but you guys are also helping the community. I mean, you guys give back as far as like letting the community use your theater for different events. And tell us a little bit more about some of the things that you do in the community for.
Well, our vision of that theater is much along the lines of the Cascade, the way that's turned out up here. From where we sit, it looks like that's revitalized that whole down. It's been kind of the anchor, and that's what we see ourselves doing. we didn't have a dressing room, so we purchased a little office building right
Yeah.
across the alley, and we call it the green room.
Yes.
And so the performers come in and they use that. Well, we don't need that all the time, so we have entered into a partnership relationship with the Tehama County Arts Council, and they have completely rebuilt that building, and they're offering college classes,
love it.
pottering, and all those kinds of things. And it's the neatest, and that's step one. And then across the street we have a restaurant going in, that kind of thing. So
That's so smart. You're just
Wow.
using the right partnerships
Right.
and creating mutually beneficial relationships
correct.
with your community. So that's great.
And what are some of the fundraising things that you have going on? Because I imagine there's still fundraising. Ashley's
Something
got
really
something
fun.
over here you can
This
take a look
wine.
at, and we're battling to keep from opening it.
Yeah, we definitely are battling.
It looks like a bottle of wine. What's that all about? With the Historic State Theater logo right on the front.
Marquis Syrah, right?
Well, this is Marquis Syrah.
Okay.
And this idea came about 2 years ago when some of us were picking grapes up in Manton.
Okay.
A vineyard owner, Digger Creek Vineyard, donated grapes for us to make some wine, and I own Tehama Oaks Winery, and I'm on the board, obviously, and so we decided we'd partner with the vineyard and the board to make this wine and then make it available for the public to purchase at $25 a bottle. $23 of that will go directly to the State Theater.
Wow.
I
that's
donated my
amazing.
winemaking experience, and the vintner or the viticulturist donated the grapes. And the board was very involved in crushing the grapes, picking the grapes, and bottling the wine.
What a fun
And so
experience.
it is truly another one of those team efforts. But we
Yes.
think that we're going to raise somewhere in the vicinity of $8,000 or so for the theater with the sale of this wine. And if it's an idea that works out, there might be a sequel to Marquis Syrah. Who knows?
Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
So where can you purchase that?
You can purchase it at the theater, or you can purchase it at Tehama Oaks Winery in Red Bluff.
Okay,
And
good.
if you want any information at all about what's going on at the State Theater, go to our website, statetheaterredbluff.com.
State
It's got
Theater.
all of our schedules on it. It will tell you how you can donate and what you're donating
Yeah.
for, and how you can be part of this exciting project.
That's great. What a great, another success story
Yeah,
here in the
yeah.
North State. Really pouring back into the community at the same time offering needed services.
Yeah.
And so if there's one thing that you want people to think of now besides Tom Hanks when they think of the Historic State Theater, what would that be?
The heart of Red Bluff. We're stimulating that entire community, and we're proud to be part of it.
Great.
Thank you guys so much for coming
That's
on.
great. Yeah. Well, I love hearing about stuff like this because you hear about it peripherally, but
Yeah.
it's really wonderful to meet you men and see what you've got going on down there. So the next time you see an ad for the Historic State Theater, go check it out in Red Bluff. We're going to be back just in a few seconds with the second half of our program here on the Forum.
Hi, and we're back with Rick Kern, who is a local TV show host of Above the Line, which is also on KIXE, and Volunteer of the Year,
I'm also your cameraman.
and also a cameraman. I had a lot to get out there. You're doing way too
well,
much.
when it comes to Channel 9, I try and do pretty much everything I can to help them.
Yeah.
When they call, if I'm not doing anything, I jump right in and help them.
Well, I
I
love,
love
it. We
Channel
need
9.
people
I
like
think it's
you.
great. I think Channel 9 is absolutely fantastic. There's so much here for everybody.
Yeah.
Especially, the children's programming that they have in the morning is programming that you cannot get anywhere else.
Yeah.
Educational. It's just, they show cartoons and stuff like that, but there's not educational.
Now, it sounds like you watch quite a bit of the children's programming, too.
I have great
like-
grandchildren.
Oh, okay. Well, it's fun to watch
So,
it with them.
let me
It's funny to hear.
tell you.
It's funny to hear you talking because it sounds like we're in the middle of a pledge drive.
I know. That's true.
Because you really don't have to pay right now watching the show. But
I'm just
you're
telling
a fan. You're a raving
how
fan.
enthusiastic I am about Channel 9. I swept the place out.
Well, tell us about your TV show. How did that get started? What's it all about?
Well, started out 25 years ago A gentleman came into the store I was working in, and he said, you need to be on TV. And I said, why? Well, after it was about this 4th trip, I went down and I looked at community access, and I thought, oh, this is kind of fun. I think I can do this. I took the class, and I got out of the class, and I went up to Kit, and I said, hey, I want to do a program. And he goes, well, I think you need to work on this program. I said, no, I want to do a program. He said, no, you need to do this program. Finally convinced him. He said, okay, you got to do 13 weeks. I said, that's fine. So we did our 13 weeks. You know, you signed the little contract, and we did the 13 weeks. And he came up after 13 weeks, and he goes, you are going to continue, aren't you? And I ended up doing it for 5 years.
Oh, I love it. Wow.
What was it? What kind of show was it?
It was called Light on Reading. It was a soft talk show, basically the same as what you have, concentrating on the Reading area. I interviewed golfers. I interviewed a lady that knitted sweatshirts. I'll get that out. She knitted sweatshirts for Bill Cosby.
Oh, wow.
I had Kathy's Pies. You know, just all kinds of
you interviewed people from the community that you found interesting.
Right, anybody that we found interesting. And it was a great challenge, too. At one point in time, my director TD operator, which is technical stuff in the back there, he had one leg. A great guy, and he was doing all of it. Larry Pinland was doing my lights and floor directing. No camera personnel showed up.
Oh, wow.
So I went out on the street, and I said, would you like to run a camera? Would you? And I got 2 people to come in and run camera for me.
Oh.
And we did the show, and you know, I mean.
You seem so shy. I really can't see you doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
I
my
just,
goodness.
gosh, me and Tim Conway, you know, we, no.
Well, tell us about your show that you have on KIXE now.
Okay,
it actually comes on before our
Forum
show.
on
is.
Just
Saturday
before
afternoon.
well, I come on, then there's another show, and then you come on. So it's a
okay,
good
sure.
it's a good play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good time and a good
4:30.
play.
Your show's 4:30.
My show's at 4:30 on Saturday afternoon, and my show is just basically about any ongoing activities in Northern California. That's why it's called Above the Line. We're anything from Calusa north. If they have something that's going on a regular annual basis, we love to talk to them.
Oh, okay, that's great.
And how that started. I talked to, you had the lady from Cascade Theater on earlier. And
Carol Laird.
yeah, and I talked to the manager of the Cascade Theater, but we talked about the history of the Cascade Theater. We talked about Mike Cassis, and we talked about Bob, and the building of the Cascade Theater, and the great history that's down there. And that's the kind of show that I have.
Yeah,
It's a little bit different than yours.
Absolutely, but that's why they both work.
That's why they
know?
both work, and we work together, and we
That's
work
right.
together well.
How did you happen to be Volunteer of the Year at the TV station?
You know, that I have no idea. They have their awards dinner, and I'm sitting there, and they're calling out the hours, and they called out 100 hours. And I said, well, I know I had 100 hours volunteering. And they called out 200 hours. I go, well, I didn't think I had 200 hours, and they haven't called my name yet. I go, well, okay, they just overlooked me, And then Mike got up, and he announced me as Volunteer of the Year.
Oh.
I was speechless. I swear, I really,
Oh, I believe
I
that.
could not think of a thing to say.
Oh, that's hard to believe.
That is hard to believe.
I mean, I was totally, I just going, I couldn't believe it. I just, they caught me so off guard,
yeah.
and so shocked and so surprised. I'm going, wow. But it just shows you that, anybody can be a volunteer.
Yeah.
I've got my friend Dave out there. He's running camera for you.
Oh, that's awesome.
As a volunteer. I've brought other people in as volunteers. You come in and you get hooked on this stuff, and you find that it's so much fun.
Yeah.
It is. And what I really like about it is that, you go along and you can make a mistake, but if you just keep right on going, people won't notice it. They really
It
won't.
seems to me like, yeah, it does seem to me that you seem to volunteer for a lot of things because you were also one of the first humans to shoot the
Stoner
machine gun.
When I was in the Army, I was in weapons experimentation. And we were working with like the laser weapons and things of that nature that, now you see them coming through the windows. Well, we were doing it with slide rules and punch card computers. We had no idea what was going on. And they came in one day and they said, come over here, we need you to fire this weapon. So I got down and I fired the weapon. They go, no, okay, we don't think we want to do that anymore because this was a weapon that literally, it was so rapid and and it would blow up on you.
Oh.
And you were laying there.
And I was laying there firing this
shooting it.
thing,
Yeah.
but you did what you were told.
That's-
It was the Army. You do
I
what you're told.
understand.
So the Army got you to California, is that right?
The Army
Somewhere?
brought me to California. Yeah, I was raised in southeast Iowa, and worked the farms back there, and I did car washes and the Boy Scouts, and worked on the Mississippi River and did all that stuff. Great Midwestern growing up.
Yeah.
And then one day, President Johnson sent me a letter and said, "Gee, Merry Christmas, we think you're such a great guy. We'd like for you to represent us in Southeast Asia."
Oh, no.
And I said, "Well, okay, I guess if I gotta, I gotta." Basically what happened is they caught me transferring from one college to another, and they didn't like the fact that this was the third college that I transferred to.
Oh, oops.
So the draft board says, "You're gone." And it didn't hurt me. I
No.
mean, it
It also gave you a good experience because now you work with veterans. I mean, that's part of what you do? Tell us a little bit about that.
Anytime that I can help the veterans organizations, help out what's going on, I jump in. My hours are rather restricted because I do donate an awful lot of time here at Channel 9.
Absolutely, to get 200 hours.
But anytime that something's going on, I'm the first vice of the American Legion in the district here, and that's working with recruiting and stuff, so I do a lot of stuff with that. I have to send out a lot of letters, mainly because we have such a large area,
Right.
but I do a lot of work with that.
Yeah. So right now it seems like it seems like you just give quite a bit of your time right now for causes that are important to you in the community.
Well, I'm retired. If
and
you want to call it that. My wife doesn't think I'm retired. She says, "Go back to work. I need to see you more often."
So what was your work before you retired?
Well, here in Northern California, I came up as I owned a liquor store downtown Redding back in the 70s. And then I went to work for Payless Drugs and went to work through them. And then when they started downgrading and moving out, I went into trucking. And I drove truck for about 20 years, and I loved it.
Wow.
It was actually, truck driving was a job that I couldn't wait to get started on.
Yeah.
I hit the 48 states in Canada and had a great time. My wife traveled with me, and so we got to see the country.
Yeah.
For myself personally, I got to get to my aunt's 100th birthday, which was really great. I mean, that's something that you wouldn't normally, get to, but the company paid my way down there. So what the heck? I can't complain.
I got to stop in and say hi. So tell us a little bit about what it was like having a liquor store downtown. I mean,
The 70s.
Back in the 70s.
Back in the day when we would go around and around the circle on Friday nights.
Drive Friday and Saturday nights, yes. Drive the loop.
Yeah. I was never there, right? I heard about it.
Yeah, you're not old enough to have been there.
Oh, no.
No. Yeah, it was great. The kids really weren't that much of a problem. There's always this one or two that's going to cause a problem.
Sure.
But for the majority of the kids, there wasn't that much of a problem downtown. They were just there racing up and down the street, and we had a lot of them that would sit in the parking lot, and they would yell and scream at one another, and that's where guys met girls.
Downtown.
That's where that was the pickup zone.
Wow.
It was great.
It was
downtown
a big
from
deal.
another
I actually
perspective.
was a little young for that, and I remember when I finally got to go with an older boy, and we went down there. It was just it was so safe, really.
It was.
It was very safe, and I would probably have a coronary now if my daughter was to do something like that. But it was different times.
It was
then.
it was different. When you ran the cruise,
The cruise. That's what it was.
That's what it was called. The cruise, yeah.
You would go in a circle around Pine Street and circle around.
I went up first went Pine Street to Market Street, and then when they closed off Market Street, went to California Street.
Yeah.
So they would circle around.
Yeah. And you just do nothing but just drive in
drive
circles.
and now
You
you
see your friends.
and
wave,
honk your horn and wave.
Oh my gosh.
I know, it was simple.
3, 4, 5 miles an hour until you got to the red light there on Pine and Placer, and then the Christmas tree came out, and it went 1, 2, 3, blink, and then they take off racing.
Well, I think I really missed out during that time. Darn.
That
Yeah.
was.
It was innocent. In a way, it was
was.
really innocent.
Yeah, but cute to hear about now.
Yeah.
I mean, now we're hearing about it.
And
I'm
you
like
were there. I mean, we weren't drinking because the drinking age was.
Drinking age
Yeah.
was very, very strongly enforced. It really was. The
Yeah.
police were there, and they enforced the drinking age and all that. But we still we sold a lot of goodies and stuff, soda pops and candies and things like that to the kids. Because they just they'd come in, bang. Mostly they just wanted to drive. They weren't really interested.
They just wanted to show off that they could drive.
They just wanted to show off that they were on the cruise.
Yeah.
And it was great. Reading was really, really great. It was a good place to grow up.
Yeah, it was
And
pretty.
so much to do. Kids say, "Oh, they're so boring." Oh man, if you reach out, there are 10,000 things you can do
And
in the
even
Reading
today,
area.
there's so
That's
much to
yeah.
do. I
Oh,
mean, you're
yeah.
such a testimony of a person who is so active, more active in your retirement than even when you were working, huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I my wife says I over volunteer, but I don't think so.
It
I'm
seems like
having
you
too
love
much
it.
fun.
Hey, keeps you young.
Having so much fun. So if you're curious about volunteering, it's easy. You can talk here to Rick and find out about it. You can call the station and find out about it. Of course, KIXE, we love volunteers here at the station.
We need them.
So we appreciate you watching the forum. Thank you, Rick, for being on.
Yeah.
And thanks for Bill and Bob, and we'll see you next week.
I'm Karen Hoyt, Marketing Director at Shasta Regional Medical Center, and we're proud to be part of the conversation that the forum at KIXE is bringing to our community. Shasta Regional has been around for more than 60 years supporting our community, and we would like to invite you to be a part of the forum on KIXE. Together, we can support the community that gives us back so much. Thank you.